Americans love scenery. We want to see it all, from one coast to the next, Mount Rushmore down to the Everglades. So hop into a Chevy Malibu and take the scenic route. It's the car you knew America could build. There's a place where people count on friendships they can trace back generations, where they can count on the same stool at the coffee shop waiting for them every morning. This place is called Glen Ellen, and you can find it in every bottle of Glen Ellen wine. This is craft brewed Herman Joseph's, the smoothest, easiest drinking specialty beer in the entire solar system. And I believe you'll find drinkable in the dictionary right after don't order a beer you can't drink. Zoingo! Boingo! The freestyle pogo with more boing, more bounce. Bounce further, bounce higher with Zoingo Boingo. To see what makes Arrowhead Mountain Spring water different from those other waters, you have to go back to the source. And with Arrowhead, that means going back a little farther and longer than most. Between security challenged and security strengthened, there's one important word: how. And it is the how that makes all the difference to our nation and our world. Lockheed Martin. We never forget who we're working for. What makes Kraft Singles so good? 2 out of every 3 kids don't get the recommended amount of calcium. But with Kraft Singles, they get a good source of calcium and the taste they love. Kraft Singles. Magic every single time. Throw boring overboard with a new real meal from Long John Silver's. A meal worthy of a plate, just $4.99. Only at Long John Silver's. We may not all be geniuses, but we can all do something smart. Introducing the Hyundai 199 Sonata Lease. It's a smart deal on a really smart car.
Ticks me off. Being mistaken for the races, you know, like Chinese, Japanese, Hawaiian, Mexican, Spanish, Filipino, Scottish. You'd be surprised if I was wearing my kilt. I'd show the ladies a wee show. Might want to stand back a wee bit. It's a fairly big show. That's right, ladies. I'm hung like a buffalo. Oh, sorry. Tatanka. Oh. So yes, I am Native American. I'm indigenous. I'm Aboriginal. I'm sick and tired of all the political correct crap. You just call me Caucasically impaired. Is that better? Does that work? Thank you. I don't mind being Native. I like the free shit, huh? That's right. Land, no taxes. Woo! Don't know if you white people know this, but here in LA, I get free cab rides. Well, they're cop cars, but they get you home. They're,
Good morning. It's Thursday, Jordan Peterson Thursday, November the 6th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, motivation, meditation, and Jordan Peterson. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Thank you, Maria, then Stu, if you decide to show up for work.
Welcome back. 30 minutes before the opening bell sounds for a Thursday. Markets are higher this morning. Fractional gains across the board. Let's get some final thoughts from this all-star panel. Mark Tepper.
Maria, given your recent comments about 825 flight delays already today and 42 cancellations, I had to go and check out the stock price for Hertz. 1 week ago, $5 a share. Today, $6.67 a share, up 35%. With all due respect to Hertz, I hope that is short-lived and we get these flights back online.
That is the mind of an investor, man. That is awesome. That's a great point. Final thoughts. Chris.
Voters this week are obviously concerned about higher prices. Democrats are benefiting from that in the short term by offering price controls as the solution. That will be a disaster. We have an opportunity to do real energy abundance instead of capping the price for utilities, building as much here in the United States, every kind of energy. That's the contrast the Republicans have coming out of this week. That's the real opportunity.
Well, that's the president's agenda, right? He wants to ease permitting and regulation to make all this stuff easier.
Exactly. And we make it cleaner and better than anywhere else, so why not do it here?
Do you think we're going to see a good 2026 real quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think the AI trade is going to continue. We'll have a little issue maybe in the fourth quarter.
All right, Mark Tapper, Chris Johnson, great to be with you guys this morning. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow. Varney and Company picks it up now. Stu, take it away.
All right, good morning, Maria. Good morning, everyone. Planning your Thanksgiving travel is not going to be easy. Restrictions on airline travel begin tomorrow. 4% of flights will be cut. That goes up to 10% and quickly. The problem is a shortage of air traffic controllers because of the government shutdown. They haven't seen a paycheck since mid-October, and many are not going to work. Airport chaos is coming. That will put pressure on Congress to settle. Who gets the blame for the prolonged government closure? I'm calling it the Schumer shutdown. More argument before the Supreme Court today in the Trump tariff case. On the first day, some justices were reportedly skeptical of Trump's claim that a tariff is not a tax. Not sure when we'll get a decision, but when we do, either way, it's a market mover. Let's get to your money. Start with Tesla today, please. There's a vote on Elon Musk's massive pay deal. It is the vote today. If it's approved and he meets certain benchmarks, Elon Musk will be paid $1 trillion over several years. It looks like it will be approved. Shareholders want him to keep running the company. The stock, though, is down just 14 cents. That's it. The Dow Industrials are on the upside to the tune of 5 points. S&P 500 up 6. NASDAQ up 20. There's green on the screen, but not much of it. Bitcoin holding just above 100 grand, 103.2. That is the price now. Gold just above $4,000 an ounce, 4,020. Silver well below $50 an ounce, 48.34. Treasury yields, well, they've gone up this week. The 10-year now coming in at 4.12%. The 2-year around 3.60. Yeah, actually 3.59. On the show today, Fox is told an announcement is coming this morning about weight loss drugs. The president's moving to cut prices to less than $150 a month. Now we're seeing the real Mandami, always smiling before the vote. Now he's won, he's turned angry and divisive. He's ranting about taxing the rich. He threatens to arrest ICE agents, and he's appointed radicals to organize his city hall government. New Yorkers face a grim and contentious 4 years. Thursday, November the 6th, 2025.
And that was Stuart and Maria. Nonprofit News Now. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Dr. Berg.
Today we're going to talk about a very specific drink that can help you unclog your arteries. And this relates all the consequences that happen when you have damage to your arteries. High blood pressure, clots that can develop that can actually turn into a stroke, and heart attacks. Now, one of the problems that people have when they go to the doctor is the doctors don't really focus on root causes. They're looking at things later on the chain of events, like high blood pressure, like high cholesterol, and then they treat those, but they don't really get into root causes. One of the big root causes for plaquing in the arteries, especially heart attacks, is this thing called endothelial damage. What is that? Look at the inside of an artery. There is this single layer of cells. It's called the endothelial layer. And when that becomes damaged, there's a cascade effect. There's all sorts of consequences from that. And one of the first things that happens is you get inflammation, okay? And then your body's going to come in and try to repair it. And that plaque is composed of calcium, cholesterol, and protein. So realize the plaque is really a reparative action from the inflammation that started inside your arteries. Now, there's another little piece of the puzzle, and that is called nitric oxide. When someone develops endothelial damage to the inside of the artery, their nitric oxide goes down, and now they lose control of blood pressure because nitric oxide helps as a vasodilator. It increases more blood flow. And when we lose that, not only are we going to get a blood pressure that's going to go up, we're going to get increased risk of clotting. And by the way, 90% of heart attacks involve clots. One of the big reasons for that is endothelial damage because now we don't have enough nitric oxide, and that's going to raise our risk for getting clotting, and that can affect the heart or it can go up into the brain. We're going to also get more inflammation, higher blood pressure. The actual artery wall will get thicker and stiffer, so there's less flexibility. There's going to be more blood pressure problems. And of course, the problem is the doctor is going to focus on the blood pressure, but not do a lot for this endothelial damage, unfortunately. What you should know about nitric oxide is there are natural things to keep it very, very high in the body. Number one is just being out in the sun. The sun will give you vitamin D, which is probably one of the most potent things to increase nitric oxide, as well as infrared. Half of the sun's rays are infrared. Infrared helps increase nitric oxide. So there's two things that sun gives you in relationship to this, which is very powerful. When you breathe through your nose, you increase nitric oxide. When you take magnesium, you can increase nitric oxide. The next thing I want to talk about is if we're trying to unclog your arteries, let's say there is plaque in the arteries. How does it get reversed? Well, it just so happens there's something called RCT, reverse cholesterol transport. And so there's a transport mechanism to take the cholesterol buildup in the arteries and reverse it and bring it back to the liver where it's recycled. And just so you know, this is a really confusing topic. A lot of times doctors or other people will tell you that dietary cholesterol is creating the big problem. You have to realize that your body makes most of the cholesterol in your bloodstream. And so it's a necessary thing. It's a building block for hormones. It helps with a lot of things. But when we're dealing with this problem right here, it's more late on the chain of events. It's not an actual root cause. The things that can help reverse the cholesterol transport and allow it to go from the artery back to the liver is niacin, vitamin B3. Niacin greatly helps remove cholesterol from the arteries. HDL, that's considered good cholesterol because it basically takes the cholesterol from the peripheral part of the body, from the arteries, and brings it back to the liver. Exercise will do it. Also fasting. This means not eating so frequent. And then low carb diets. Let me just touch on the low carb for a second. Someone came in and told me, Dr. Berg, your program really didn't work for me. And I said, wait a second. You told me you lost weight. You even had your cholesterol tested and that was better. Explain to me why it didn't work. Well, I tried your low carb diet for a couple of weeks and then I went back to my normal foods and the problem came back. So that was interesting because so many people have normalized this high carb diet. And unfortunately, it is the opposite of being normal. If you just take a look at your blood sugar, okay, a normal blood sugar is 80 milligrams per milliliter. What does that mean? That basically is equivalent to 1 little teaspoon of sugar in all of your blood. Whereas you take the average person who's consuming 45 to 65% of all their calories being either refined sugars or refined starches, and starches are sugar, you're talking about the average person consuming between 50 to 100 teaspoons of sugar every single day. Now, that's off of 2,000 calories per day, and a lot of people have more than that, so I'm being conservative. But how can so many people consume so much sugar yet have normal blood sugar? How can that be? It doesn't make sense. Well, that's because sugar is so toxic for your arteries. It's like something that goes in there and rusts it out, that you have a protective mechanism. That's called insulin. Insulin comes in there like a vacuum cleaner and sucks it out as fast as you put it in there. This is why so many people can live on so much carb yet have normal blood sugar because the insulin is working overtime. Well, that only happens for about 15 to 20 years before the pancreas is so exhausted, it just can't work anymore. So at that point, our insulin goes lower and lower and lower, and our blood sugar higher and higher and higher. And now the person goes into a pre-diabetic state and then a diabetic state. And that's really what diabetes is. It's a condition of high sugar in the blood because insulin can't compensate anymore. Out of all of the things that can remove fat from your liver, the low-carb diet is at the top of the list. You can remove 40% of liver fat within just 14 days. If you're on a low-carb diet. But the big thing you need to know is all that refined sugar is being converted into cholesterol. All that refined sugar is creating inflammation and creating endothelial damage, starting this whole cascade of things happening. This is why it's so important to be on a low-carb diet to keep your nitric oxide super high. A lot of the excess cholesterol that you have in your body and your liver is routed out through help with the bile salts. So we need a good amount of bile to get rid of excess cholesterol. When people remove their gallbladders, sometimes they have a problem with cholesterol building up. So we need bile salts to help deal with excess cholesterol. A couple other points with calcium in the arteries. Magnesium is the master controller over calcium. So the antidote to this calcium problem is to up your magnesium. Now, think about the arteries. The arteries are controlled with a muscle. They contract with calcium and they relax with magnesium. So if there's any blood pressure problems, magnesium is a really important mineral. Polyphenols are very, very powerful in helping protect the endothelial layer. And there's going to be a very powerful polyphenol in the drink that I'm going to recommend coming up. Also, vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 actually can help prevent arterial calcification. It's the vitamin that takes the calcium from the soft tissue and keeps it in the bone and your teeth. Super important in helping keeping the arteries healthy. Now let's talk about the one drink that can help you. It's basically using cacao powder with high flavonols. Maybe you've heard of cocoa powder. That is roasted cacao. So this is from the raw bean, and this is the stuff that they make chocolate from. But when you have this barely refined raw product, you have a ton of these flavonols, which are basically plant chemicals that have a lot of antioxidants and a lot of cool properties, which I'm going to explain to you. But cacao powder acts just like exercise in a cup. In one study that they did, they compared vasodilation or blood flow through the artery from cacao powder and compared that to a medium exercise. And it came out very similar. And that is because cacao powder is a potent trigger of this enzyme machine that helps you make more nitric oxide, which again is a vasodilator. It allows more blood flow to happen. And so it's just bizarre to me that you could literally consume something and create similar effects to exercise. That's just wild. Now, one of the things that I do in the morning, I actually put a little scoop of beetroot juice powder with it. It adds a really interesting taste. I like it, but beetroot itself is probably one of the highest things with nitric oxide. So I'm combining two things together to create an even more powerful effect. And sometimes I will warm up the water a little bit, but I will not bring it to a full boil. But if it's a little bit warmer, it all mixes a little bit better. But sometimes I'll have it cold. But I want to differentiate cacao powder with beetroot powder. Beetroot powder actually gives you nitric oxide, okay, because there's nitric oxide in here. Cacao powder actually stimulates the enzymes in your body to make more nitric oxide. And I will put that link down below of that trial. This is the name of the trial right here that showed the same dilation as moderate exercise, which is just mind-blowing. Another study that I found with cacao powder is it showed that it reversed arterial stiffness, okay? If your arteries are stiff, right, they're hardened, your blood pressure is going to be higher. This usually happens when you age, but some people are getting it younger and younger. This is not a good thing. Cacao powder can help make your arteries less stiff and make them more flexible. That's pretty wild. And the cool thing about cacao powder's effect, as I was reading through the research, is it's cumulative. It actually builds up in your system over time, and it can help teach your arteries to make more nitric oxide again. So the effects build on each other over time. In another study, and this is pretty wild, they tested people that were between the age of 50 and 80, and these people consumed cacao powder on a daily basis for just 14 days. The results in the thickness in their arteries at this age compared to people that were 20 to 30 years younger as far as the thickness goes. I mean, that's like totally anti-aging on steroids. And the other thing about cacao powder, it's not just helping your heart and your arteries. It's also helping your brain. It's helping your skin. It's helping a lot of organs and tissues in the body. And so a couple ways to take this. You can just take it as is, mix it in some warm water, drink it in the morning, but make sure that it's not at the same time as you're drinking coffee. And now, sometimes I will mix it with my coffee, but most of the time I don't, because the caffeine in the coffee, unless you're doing decaf, can interfere with the full benefits of nitric oxide. Okay, because caffeine tends to vasoconstrict, and we're trying to create a vasodilation. So the best thing to do if you want the best results, especially for the arteries, is to have it 2 hours before your coffee or 2 hours after your coffee. But if you just want more cognitive benefits, okay, without the heart benefits, then just put it right in your coffee. And so sometimes I'll add the beetroot powder to it. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll add a little pinch of sea salt or even a little scoop of magnesium glycinate to get my magnesium, because that's one nutrient that I really benefit, and also it's just good for the heart. And the last point is, you don't want to put cacao powder in boiling water. It can be in warm water, but when you have it in boiling water, now we're heating it up because this is a raw product. I also recommend if you can get an organic version, it's just a little bit better because they use sprays in certain countries that they get this from. Anyway, go ahead and try it and then comment down below of your results. And if you haven't seen this video of the best meal to help unclog your arteries, I put it up right here. Check it out.
And that was Dr. Berg. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little bit of motivation.
The problems of failure, the problems of discouragement, of hopelessness, of hunger. Things go wrong.
We all get knocked down in every aspect of life.
There will come a time where you will hit a certain piece of adversity. You will hit a certain piece of opposition, and your strength alone won't do it. You have to pull from another place. You will have to have a why, because you will hit this piece of adversity and son, it will crush you. It will make you quit. It will make you give up. It will make you not want to get up in the morning if you don't have another source to pull from. And so you have to train yourself mentally. You have to train yourself physically so you can be strong in every aspect of your life. Because the thing about life, somebody is dependent on all of us to keep going.
When everybody is against you or don't believe in you no more. And let me tell you something, that's a lonely feeling. Oh, it hurts very badly. I know what that's like. Have people that you love close to you that look at you with that look and say, why don't you try something else? Why don't you give up?
When you face the world and all of your negative, toxic family members and friends will knock the wind out of you. When you break down, and you're going to break down, when you go back to the fiery furnaces of this world, when you find yourself getting weak and losing control, what is it that can keep you on the straight and narrow? One of the reasons, write down 5 compelling reasons of why you're going to keep your commitment to change your life. Keep your commitment never to go back to the life that you once lived. Keep your commitment to creating wealth for yourself, to taking care of your children, to be more responsible. Keep your commitment to live a life of contribution, to keep your commitment to be a conqueror and to act like it and to have authority and dominion of everything in your life. What are those reasons if life knocked you down, try and land on your back? Because if you can look up, you can get up. Your reasons will help you to get back up again. There'll be your rod and staff to comfort you.
If you're ready to quit, you're ready to give up, you're ready to give in, you're
ready to tell me what's not working, who doing this, what's wrong, if you're not ready to get up every day and start all over again like nothing happened yesterday, if you're soft, you want to get out now. I'm human just like everybody else, but let me tell you why I won't fall. I will not give up 20 years of grind. I will not put all this in for 20 years and give it up overnight. I work too hard. You thought for 1 minute that you broke me. You got me twisted. I am not phenomenally skilled, but phenomenally will. I will not give up. I will not surrender. I will not quit. And your problem is you give it up too easy. Some of you can quit because you ain't paid for nothing. I dare you to take a little pain. You ain't gonna die. At the end of pain is success. You're not gonna die because you're feeling a little pain. It's gonna be a fight. At some point, you gotta go take the life out of it. Go get it. Don't run from it no more. Go get it. You go in there and go get that grade. You go in there and get that information so you can pass that class. You gotta go get it. I don't need you thinking about it no more. You're doing too much thinking. You analyze it too much. You're talking yourself out of it. I just need you to keep moving. I need you to make up in your mind that the only way you can lose is if you quit. I just need you to keep going. I had a meltdown in class. You might have a couple more before success. It's a part of the game. You can't be successful without some meltdowns. Struggle for another year and a half and be free for the rest of your life. Or you can say, I'm tired of struggling and stop struggling and struggle for the next 20, 30 years. Press past it. Come on. Stop whining and crying and give it up. Press past it. It's going to hurt. Yes. Ask any mother that's had a child. It's probably feel like they're going to die. But guess what? They get through it. And on the other side, when that child comes out, they forget all about the pain. Your dream comes when you push. And I'm not going to give you no cookies and ice cream. Push. It's alive. It's inside. How do you know you feel it? You dream about it. You eat and sleep it every day. When people talk to you, tell them, this is what I'm going to do. So push. Just push past the pain. Push. Don't quit. Don't get push. And you push your way to success. You push yourself to the next level. Work while you wait. You don't know how long it's going to take. But if you stop now, if you quit now, the one thing I can tell you is for certain it's never going to happen. Delay don't mean deny. Delay just means you're going to have to wait a minute. When the unsuccessful are in delay, they get nervous. They get worried. They give up. They quit. They stop. They surrender because they don't see what they think they should see. But when the successful are in delay, we work while we wait. We grind in between time. We don't give up. We don't surrender. We don't quit. We see differently. Our perspective is different. And because our perspective is different, our outcomes are different. Our rewards are different.
There's times where you're going to have to do it alone. There's not going to be any team support. There's not going to be any family support. There's not going to be any friend support. There's going to be times where you've got to go and do it yourself and you got to do it alone. And those are the times that make a difference. Those are the times that count. Those are the times where you have to dig deep yourself to get the job done. And if you can make that happen, you will win.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now a little bit of meditation. And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little bit of John Kobylt.
Okay, so let's get to it. Ricardo Lara and Gavin Newsom had a plan. Started in 2023, 2 years ago. And by 2024, they wanted to restructure all the rules and regulations for the insurance industry. It backfired.
Okay, so my immediate thought here is why? Why did they want to, that's vitally important to know that. Why? Why did they want to redo the insurance industry? Is this just simply a power move? They're trying to show the insurance companies who's boss, or are they doing this for more practical reasons? We don't know. Now, he's reading from an article in the New York Times. And again, he's a hypocrite because he's just greedy. That's really what it amounts to. Hypocrisy is a word that really has no meaning anymore. But he's just a greedy F because he says the New York Times, John Kobylt does, says the New York Times is a worthless rag. He says the same thing about the Los Angeles Times, but when it's convenient, when it'll fill airtime, when it'll make him some extra money, then he'll go ahead and quote the New York Times, and that's what he's doing here. Back to the podcast.
It was supposed to require the insurance industry to buy a very high percentage, to supply insurance to a very high percentage of homes in fire-prone areas. Complicated formula, not worth getting into, but they blew it. Calfart Lara and Gavin Newsom blew it. And their plan, which was supposed to increase coverage for more people, especially in fire-prone areas, backfired. And instead, the insurance companies cut tens of thousands of policies. And Calfart Lara is now admitting that they failed, that it backfired. And now he's whining that he got bullied. He and Newsom got bullied by the insurance companies. You could look this up in the New York Times. California promised insurance relief but delivered loopholes. The central promise was that insurers would have to write policies in fire-prone areas at a high rate. But the designated areas where the insurers must write the policies turned out not to overlap with the high-risk fire areas. It was supposed to overlap with the map of the high-risk fire areas. It didn't. And so insurers were allowed to load up on coverage in safe areas and qualify to charge higher rates. See, the deal was that if you're going to charge higher rates, you've got to at least provide insurance to people living in fire-prone regions. They didn't. Too many loopholes. So insurance companies are going to raise rates and they're going to offload billions of dollars in costs and liabilities on ratepayers. And they are taking on almost no new customers in the high fire risk areas. That's why you can't get insurance, and you might end up in the FAIR plan, which pays you a fraction of what your house is worth. The regulations were billed as an attempt to get homeowners off the FAIR plan. Instead, the number of people on the FAIR plan has doubled since the insurance deal was announced, from 320,000 to 625,000. Some insurers began dumping people even before the regulations were finalized. After the deal was announced but not finalized, California's three largest insurance groups dumped 50,000 existing policies, 5 times the number that the companies had canceled in the 20 months before the deal. So massive cancellations by the tens of thousands. More than 20% of the non-renewals were in zip codes within or adjacent to areas that would burn in the January fires.
Okay, so that's good enough. He's what is he doing is he's he's complaining and he's trying to stir outrage. I mean, you can tell by the tone of his voice. Who is he talking to, though? Who is his audience here? His audience clearly is the First Church of John Kobylt, his usual listeners, his regular listeners. And he's trying to get them outraged. Well, of course they're outraged. They're outraged anyways. They're outraged about just about anything and everything that the governor and the insurance commissioner do. Okay, so he's approaching this whole story from a property and property rights standpoint, and that's great for the people that are Republican and conservative. But what about the 29.9 million Democrats in this state? They don't care, not politically. They're not going to vote in support of measures that will support property and property rights. They're going to make the sacrifice for the greater good. So he's missing those people, but he needs them. We all need Democrats in order to effect change. He's also not bothering to understand here, because he's doing a lot of explaining, and when you explain, you lose, that people are policy. He needs to focus not on the policy, but on the people who promoted it. Focus on the governor and the insurance commissioner, and then talk to the Democrats and say, hey, Democrats, any Democrats that are listening to my show, listen up. This is hurting you, because these are people that promised you that they were going to take control of the insurance companies and the insurance industry and force them to do the bidding of the people of the state of California. And they failed. Why do you keep voting for Gavin Newsom? Why do you keep voting for this guy, Lara? There's got to be better Democrats. I know you don't want to vote for Republicans, but there's got to be better Democrats to vote for. When he starts doing that, starts talking to the 29.9 million Democrats in this state, he's going to start to have some leverage and some influence in this state. And then we'll start to see things change. Again, we're never going to have a Republican governor, Republican insurance commissioner, Republican anything in this state. But what we can do is get better Democrats. We can lobby Democrat voters to get better Democrats in office. Back in a minute. Thank you. A little bit more John Kobylt.
Got to bed really early because I get up really early. But last night I was on CNN. Alex Michelson has a new show called The Story Is, and part of it is his panel discussions, the same as the old show he had on Fox 11. And so he paired me and Lisa Bloom up.
And how did that go?
That was noisy. She's Gloria Allred's daughter. She's an attorney, civil rights attorney, and she came out just wailing away on me.
She was angry with you?
I don't know. She was just yelling at me.
She's not a fan.
Alex likes to pair us up because we have deep divisions. You know?
Okay, and so the first question is, why does he bother to go on CNN? Why does any Republican, conservative, would-be conservative go on to CNN? Why bother? The only thing I can think of is that he's getting paid, and it's just greed. And when he's talking about being paired up with somebody who doesn't like him or who is going to attack him, and I'm sure he anticipated that. I'm sure they told him up front, hey, guess what? We're going to pair you up with this, what's her name's daughter here. And he probably knew that she was going to give him a bunch of grief. Okay. Why? Why do they do that? Money. They don't give a damn about anything but money. This is why I always say nonprofit news now. They're only looking to make a profit. They're not doing this show. Mr. Michelson, or whatever the hell his name is, isn't doing his show because he wants to inform the viewers. And John Kobylt and Michelson, all these other assholes will always complain that about low information voters. The low information. Why do things don't change? Why don't things go my fucking way? Because of low information voters. Well, whose fault is that? The fucking news media, the people that are supposed to be the news media, the Stuart Varneys, the Alex Michelsons, the John Kobylts of the fucking world, who don't bother to provide content that's informative. They're only going to provide content that is going to create controversy, because controversy sells. Okay? So they should quit looking around and start looking in the fucking mirror when they want to figure out what it is that's holding the state of California back, or the United States of America for that matter. Back in a minute. Thank you. So as far as the shutdown's concerned, again, I'm anticipating that it's going to be over sooner rather than later, because the shutdown is basically for money. That's all this is political theater, so that both sides can fundraise ahead of this the election that we just had. Now that the election is over, there's no reason for this to continue. So the rest of it is just face saving and cleaning up the mess, if you will. Anyhow, so the Democrats said, oh, well, the Republicans are the ones that are at fault because they're in charge. They have all the levers of power. That's right. They do. And they have all the levers of power because of the Democrats. The Democrats' stupidity about immigration. The Democrats wanted to flood the country with new immigrants to get them to work. And when they start working, they'll pay into Social Security. And so that was the Democrats' idiotic plan for saving Social Security. But they didn't think it through. They could have been heroes. They could have won every single election in 2024. They could have swept the nation. They could be large and in charge everywhere in this country. But because they didn't think this through, they ended up out of power. They end up having to hope that Republicans will give them some crumbs. If the Democrats had just simply taken these immigrants, half of them go to the East Coast, they work for FEMA and clean up hurricane damage. The other half go to the West Coast and fight fires, then they would have been heroes. Can you imagine this? Tens of thousands of people cleaning up hurricane damage, tens of thousands that are fighting fires in Southern California. Heroic, absolutely heroic. Nobody would even remember Donald Trump. Donald Trump would just simply cease to exist as a political figure. You wouldn't have to bother to try to assassinate him. You wouldn't have to bother to try to, do all the lawfare, sue him and criminal charges, bogus criminal. You wouldn't have to do that because he would have become instantly, overnight, he would have been irrelevant. But because they're stupid, they can't think their way through this thing. Now they suffer. Good. I'm glad. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Jordan Peterson.
Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. You need to have a hierarchy of improvement. You need to be aiming for something, and that means you're going to be lesser than people who've already attained along that dimension. It can give rise to envy. So the question is, who should you defeat in the final analysis? And the answer is, you should defeat your former self. You should be constantly trying to do that. And you're the right control for yourself, too, because you're the one who's had all your advantages and disadvantages. And so if you want to compete fairly with someone, then you should be competing with you. If you're improving yourself, then what you are doing is competing with your lesser self. And then you might also ask, well, what is that lesser self? And that lesser self would be resentful and bitter and aggressive and vengeance-seeking and all of those things that go along with having a negative moral character. And those are things that interfere with your ability to progress as you move forward through life. So it's very necessary to understand that this is why, I've been stressing this idea of personal responsibility. It's like, well, personal responsibility is to compete with yourself, is to be slightly better than yourself the next day. Yes. And it better in some way that you can actually manage, and that's humility. It's right, like, well, I'm a flawed person, I've got all my problems. Could I be as good as person X? It's like not the right question. The right question is, could you be slightly better tomorrow than your currently flawed self? And the answer to that is, if you have enough humility to set the bar properly low, then you could be better tomorrow than you are today. Because what you also have to do is you have to say, well, here's all my flaws and my insufficiencies, and the best that someone that flawed and insufficient could do to improve and actually do it is this. And that's not worth going out in the street and celebrating with placards, It's like, well, this is why I tell people to clean the room. It's not going to brag to someone that you did that. But someone as insufficient as you might be able to manage it. And that means you actually are on the pathway to self-improvement, and you're transcending your former self. And resilience, it's right. Like, look, You're not going to win it. You're not going to score on every shot. Right. Doesn't mean you shouldn't take the shots. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try to hit the goal. But part of being able to continue to take shots is to have the strength of character to tolerate the fact that in that instance, you weren't on top. What's the right way of being in the world, if there is such a thing? And it's not acting according to a set of rules. It's attempting continually to transcend the flawed thing that you currently are. And what's so interesting about that is that the meaning in life is to be found in that pursuit. So I've been laying that out in these discussions too, because it's saying, well, the fundamental issue is that life is tragic and difficult, very tragic and difficult for everyone. And it's also tainted by malevolence, because no matter how things are tragic and difficult, but there's always some stupid thing that you could do or someone else could do that could make it even worse than it has to be. And so that's life. And you need an antidote to that, because that can embitter you. Constant contact with that. Just the tragedy, but the tragedy combined with betrayal and malevolence, that makes it even worse, especially if it's self-induced. Okay, so you need something to set against that so you don't get bitter and resentful. Well, what do you set against that? Doing something worthwhile. By your own definition, say. You need some reason to get the hell out of bed on a terrible day because you've got something good to do. Well, what's the best thing you can do? Transcend your current wretched and miserable self. There's meaning to be found in that, and and that's a meaning that's associated with responsibility. One of the things that I've been trying to lay out clearly is that life is hard. It's tainted by malevolence and betrayal. That can make you bitter. You need a meaning to offset that. Where's the meaning to be found? Not in rights, not in impulsive pleasure, but in responsibility. You take responsibility for yourself, so you take care of yourself. If you're good at it, you have some excess left over to take care of your damn family. If you're good at both of those, then you have some excess left over to take care of your community. Those are heavy burdens. You pick up the burdens. You find that's meaningful. The best way to pick up the burden is to continually improve yourself. And that's where the meaning is to be found. And so that meaning is in the continual self-transcendence. That's letting your old self die and the new self be reborn. Even if things are going really well for you now, there's going to be a time in the future where things are rough. You're going to be ill. Family member's going to be ill. A dream is going to fall apart. You're going to be uncertain about your employment status. Like the flood is coming, right? The apocalypse is coming. It's always the case in life. And you have to be prepared for it. And the question is how to prepare for it. And the answer to that is to find a way of being that works even under the direst of circumstances. That's the issue. You've got the possibility to slowly raise yourself out of the mire. You've got the possibility to do just what the fighter does when he's defeated, which is to say, well, regardless of the circumstances that might have led to my defeat. Like, even if there were errors on the part of the referee, this is no time to whine about it. This is a time to take stock of what I did wrong so that I could improve it into the future. And that's the right attitude. The point is, your best strategic position is, how am I insufficient and how can I rectify that? That's what you've got. And the thing is, you are insufficient and you could rectify it. Both of those are within your grasp. If you aim low enough, it's like, well, I don't know how to start improving my life. Someone might say that. And I would say, well, you're not aiming low enough. There's something you could do that you are regarding as trivial, that you could do, that you would do, that would result in an actual improvement. But it's not a big enough improvement for you, so you won't lower yourself enough to take the opportunity. Aim low. And I don't mean don't aim, and I don't mean don't aim up. But you have to accept the fact that you can set yourself a goal that you can attain, and there's not going to be much glory in it to begin with. Because if you're not in very good shape, the goal that you could attain tomorrow isn't very glorious. But it's a hell of a lot better than nothing, and it beats the hell out of bitterness, and it's way better than blaming someone else. It's way less dangerous. And you could do it. There's a statement in the New Testament. It's called the Matthew Principle, and economists use it to describe how the economy in the world works. To those who have everything, more will be given. From those who have nothing, everything will be taken. It's like what's very pessimistic in some sense, because it means that as you start to fail, you fail more and more rapidly. But it also means that as you start to succeed, you succeed more and more rapidly. And so you take an incremental step, and, well, now you can lift 55 pounds instead of 52.5 pounds. You think, well, what the hell is that? It's like, it's one step on a very long journey. And so it starts to compound on you. So a small step today puts you in a position to take a slightly bigger step the next day. And then that puts you in a position to take a slightly bigger step the next day. You do that for 2 or 3 years, man, you're starting to stride. You know, and I have so many people coming up to me now. They say, look, I've been listening to your lectures, and I've been developing a vision for my life, and I've been trying to take responsibility, and I've been trying to tell the truth, and things are way better. And so that's absolutely perfect. It's the right way forward as far as I'm concerned. And those are people who, they took stock of themselves. They said, I'm in a dark place, and I'm a dark person. And here's some things that this dark person in this dark place could do. Little things that they could actually do. I'll clean up my damn room. I'll make my bed. I don't know how many people have come and told me. It's so strange. They said, well, I started making my bed, and that made all the difference. It's like, well, yeah, you decided to aim up, man. And the first concrete instantiation of that was that you made your bed. And you think, well, that's nothing heroic. It's like, no, but aiming up is heroic. That's something. And then lowering yourself to the point where you're not above the mess in your room. You know, you're not superordinate to that. You lower yourself so that you straighten up. You're grateful for what you have right in front of you, and you take care of it and you put it in order. It's like all of a sudden things start to get better. It's so wonderful to be doing this tour, because I see, so that's what this tour has been about for me. It's not political. I never talk to people after the talks, for example. I talk to about 150 people a night. We never talk about anything political. It's always this. I wasn't doing very well. I'm putting my life together. I'm getting along better with my father. I'm getting along better with my wife. I'm getting along better with my kids. I've got some meaning in my life. Thanks a lot. It's way better. It's like, yes, that's the right thing. Well, the self-esteem movements and all of that will accept yourself the way you are. It's like, no, because you need a trajectory. And one of the things that I think, one of the reasons that audiences are responding to what I've been saying in my lectures and what I've been writing about is that I don't tell people that they're okay the way they are. No, I say, no, you could be way more than you are. And they're relieved about that, you see, because if you're in a dark and terrible place and someone says you're okay the way you are, then you don't know what to do about that. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm having a terrible time, and I'm hopeless. You're okay the way you are. Well, then what? That's it? That's where I am? And what do you want to tell a young person? You're 17. You're okay the way you are. It's like, no, you're not. You got 60 years to be better. And you could be way better. You could be incomparably better across multiple dimensions. And in pursuing that better, that's where you'll find the meaning in your life. And that will give you the antidote to the suffering. You have to impose order. People have asked me in my book why I wrote it as an antidote to chaos, because, well, there isn't anything technically wrong with chaos. Chaos is a place of great potential. Well, the question is, what's the proper what's the proper balance between chaos and order, chaos, potential, and order? Well, the answer is, look, when you're a kid, you're all potential. It's chaotic potential. It can manifest itself in any number of ways. And maybe you don't want to give that up. So you're like Peter Pan. You want to be a kid forever because you don't want to give up the potential. And you look out in the world and all you see are Captain Hooks, who've lost a hand, who are chased by death because that's the clock in the crocodile. It's already got a taste of him. He's terrified by death and he's a tyrant. Well, I don't want to grow up to be that. So I won't be disciplined at all. Well, that's no good because the way the potential transforms itself into actuality is through discipline. And so then you, as you said, this is the trick though. You have to pick a path of discipline. What path of discipline you have to pick is a different issue. You have to discipline yourself. And the issue is, well, how? That's not really the relevant question. You can pick a disciplinary path. That's why I often tell my clients, especially young people, they say, well, I don't know what to do. It's like, that's okay. Nobody does. Go do something. Do the best thing that you can think of. Put the best plan you have into practice. It's not going to be perfect, and it will change along the way. But it will change partly because you become disciplined pursuing the path. And as you become disciplined, you become wiser. And as you become wiser, you become able to formulate better and better plans. So you can start vaguely and confused and develop a plan that's not so great. And you start to implement it. And then you accrue incremental wisdom as you implement your flawed plan. And that enables you to fix the plan. Imagine you only have $100,000 to go buy a house. And so you go look at this house and it's like, Jesus, this house, man, it's like it needs a lot of work. It's like, well, that's all you've got. Well, are you going to pretend that the house is okay the way it is? Or are you going to look for where it's rotten and where the plumbing doesn't work and where the stove doesn't work? You have to go and look and see where everything needs to be fixed. And that is harsh, man. And then in order to do that properly, someone has to have taught you. It's, look, you aren't your problems. Well, you are. You're most fundamentally that which, if it confronts its problems, can solve them. And that's the hero myth in a nutshell, by the way. The hero is the person who confronts horrible, chaotic potential and tames it and makes something of it, right? That's the fundamental human story. But the problem is that you have to face what you don't want to face in order to fix it. Yeah. And so you look at all the things about yourself that need to be burned off, that need to be dispensed with. And that, man, especially at the beginning, especially if you're screwed up, that might be like 95% of you just has to go up in flames. And it's painful. Even some of that stuff that you have to burn off doesn't want to die. And it'll scream in agony while you're burning it off. It's not pleasant. But if you know that you're the thing that can transcend your problems, most fundamentally, if you know you're the thing that, if it faces the problems, can transcend them, then you have the faith that would enable you to take stock of who you are. We had people write about their ideal future and also to put in measurement strategies. It's like, okay, here's your ideal future. Here's how you're going to break it into goals. Here's how you're going to mark progress towards those goals. Because you got to be playing a fair game with yourself, right? Because when you make progress, you want to reward yourself. So you have to identify what the progress is and you have to reward it. The consequence, we had people write a future plan for only an hour when they came for their school orientation in the summer before going to, it's a community college. And it dropped the dropout rate among young men by 50%. And it's, yeah, no kidding, 50%. Yeah. And what that meant was, to me, just think about that. What that means is that these kids had been educated for 12 years and no one had ever sat them down and said, okay, what the hell are you doing and why? And how are you going to where do you want to go? Why do you want to get there? How are you going to get there? How are you going to mark your progress? They've never walked them through that exercise. You walk people through that exercise just to get them to do that increases the probability that they'll stay on track by 50%.
And that was Jordan Peterson. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that greed is not conservative.